Hello there. Welcome back to my continuing series looking at the differences between the UK and the USA. Today I'll be looking at an unlikely show to cross from the UK to the US based on the seemingly very British concept of working class father and son rag and bone men in Steptoe and Son. For my American viewers, rag and bone men are people who make a living from collecting unwanted household items and scrap and selling them on. Junk dealers. If that starts to sound more familiar, it was reimagined in the USA as Sanford and Son, transplanting the action of two white working class Londoners to the predominantly African American neighbourhood of Watts in Los Angeles, and casting two black actors. In the UK, Albert Steptoe was played by veteran character actor Wilfrid Brambell, perhaps most well known outside the UK as Paul's grandfather in A Hard Day's Night.
Hey, pardon me for asking, but who's that little old man? Oh, that one, that's my grandfather.
While his son Harold was played by the very serious theatre actor Harry H. Corbett, an early adopter of method acting who was known as the British Brando.
I'm coming back for you, Sam, when I'm through with finding Wilson.
In the US, Fred Sanford was played by stand-up comedian Red Fox.
My great-great-grandfather, Red Fox I, was one of the first black politicians in Mississippi. He ran for the border.
While his son Lamont was played by Demond Wilson, who got his big break in the show. The dynamic between the two main characters on both sitcoms was similar, but not entirely the same, with Steptoe focusing on Albert being a very set in his ways, grubby, skinny, but fierce old man who constantly thwarted his son's ambitions to get away from the business.
Yeah, it's a laugh. You're always the same. Taking things up, buying all the gear, wasting your money, and then you're a scrub out.
While Harold dreamed of being anything but a rag and bone man, yet obligated to care for his old father, despite seemingly hating him.
If you don't shut up, I shall ram this shuttlecock straight up your cardboard and set fire to the furnace.
In Sanford, the relationship was less antagonistic.
Hey, Pop. You went down to that doctor and he told you everything he told me, didn't he?
Don't hate me, though, son.
Fred was more of a sarcastic schemer, filled with ideas for get-rich-quick schemes, and Lamont was somewhat naive, but more of an apologist for his father's rougher edges.
I don't hate you, I love you.
The tone of Steptoe was much grittier than the US remake.
It's getting off to you.
Certainly not. Bathing in other people's water? That is disgusting.
Well, you're not dirty. You're always washing.
Using drama, tragedy and pathos to extract humour from the characters' conflicting personalities.
I must admit you wasn't bad looking. Better than the usual scrubbers you get landed with. I didn't know you had it in you, pulling a bird like that.
Chemistry, Dad. Our chemicals mixed.
I wonder who she'd be mixing her chemicals with tonight.
Sanford had moments of pathos and drama.
Now, I've had it. I've had it with you and this whole dumb evening and all your complaining. You don't have to eat that stuff. You don't have to do nothing, because I'm leaving. There's nothing that satisfies you.
But was broader and lighter in tone. Focusing more on the comedy. Sanford also had a much larger supporting cast with many recurring characters, such as Aunt Esther, Grady Wilson, Bubba Bexley and many others, giving it a more traditional sitcom feel, while Steptoe was mostly a two-hander with one-off characters, only occasionally appearing. Steptoe and Son began on the BBC in 1962 in black and white as a one-off episode written by Galton and Simpson, who had been given the opportunity to write a series of one-off shows after their success with Hancock's Half Hour.
I've just taken a sample to test.
A sample? How much do you want, then?
Well, a pint, of course.
A pint? Have you gone raving mad?
That's very nearly an armful.
The episode proved so successful it was commissioned for a series, which ran from 1962 to 1965. It then came back for another 4 series from 1970 to 1974, but this time in colour. This made for a total of 57 episodes between 30 and 45 minutes in length. Sanford overlapped with the later series of Steptoe, running from 1972 to 1977 for a total of 136 episodes between 22 and 24 minutes in length. Sanford also spun off into the Sanford Arms, which only lasted 8 episodes and didn't feature either Fox or Wilson. Then Sanford, which saw only Red Fox reprise his role. This was slightly more successful, lasting 26 episodes over 2 seasons, but failed to capture the imagination of the audience and ended in 1981. Steptoe also spun off into 2 theatrical films, Steptoe and Son and Steptoe and Son Ride Again, featuring both actors. Both Steptoe and Sanford were huge rating successes. Sanford peaked at number 2 in the US ratings, while Steptoe was regularly the most watched show on British television. A strange and unfortunate coincidence between the 2 shows is that the lead actors didn't really get on with each other, and none of the actors involved really benefited from the series. Harry H. Corbett was particularly resentful of how he became typecast after the show.
So we read all the time that actors are typecast and they're out of work for years and they can't do another job.
Yes, that's true. I've been typecast. I wouldn't say I couldn't do another job. I've done several stage plays and various other things, you know.
Did people always want you to play that kind of character? Because you were a straight actor.
Yeah.
You went on to act in comedy as opposed to becoming a comedian.
That's right.
And then suddenly everybody says, oh, well, he's a comedian, let's use him for laughs.
Yes, I'm afraid so.
It is true, isn't it?
And most of them based on a kind of Steptoe type of character.
As these shows pass their 61st and 51st anniversaries, it's important to remember they regularly appear in lists of the best sitcoms of all time in their respective countries, and they both gave a voice to underrepresented people on TV at a time where there weren't many working class people in scripted TV in the UK, or black people in scripted TV in the US. Finally, it's worth mentioning that legendary TV producer Norman Lear was responsible for bringing Sanford to US television, and his is a name that will come up again as we continue our journey through the UK and USA remakes. Thank you. Goodbye.